So how many questions you attempted today? 6, more than 6? Okay, less than 5? Okay, lot of quotation based question, huh? That is why. Okay. Any increasing comfort level with the question or is it same? Huh? Same, increasing. क्या बोल रहे हैं? डिक्रीज हो गया, कोटेशन में इसमें डिक्रीज हो गया. ओके ओके. और डॉक्टर पूछता है ना कितना फायदा है, 15% फायदा है, 20% फायदा है. इट इज लाइक दैट. तो कितना फायदा है? -10. ओके. व्हेन इज योर फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट? व्हेन इज योर फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट? इसी साल है था सेकेंड अटेम्प्ट. एथिक्स पहली बार कर रहे हैं आप? फर्स्ट. ओके. मैं कोई मैम को नहीं लाया भाई, वो मिलने आए थे मुझसे, तो मैंने कहा बच्चों से भी मिल लेना. मैंने कोई अलग से मैसेज नहीं किया उन्हें. शी टेक्स्टेड मी दैट शी वांटेड टू मीट मी एंड बिफोर शी इज गोइंग टू हैदराबाद फॉर NPA, and then I asked her whether she can come and interact with you. You see, everything is same. Whatever you are going through now, she also was going through the same thing. Sir, कितना खराब लिख रही हूँ मैं, and everything, that whatever you are feeling, same thing she was also feeling. Where is Shreya? She has disappeared. Shreya, लौट आओ. कोई तुम्हें कुछ नहीं कहेगा. अरे okay. So I think we should start with test number 3 first because I have this. और 2 के लिए आप बोल दिया आपने, आ गया 2 का प्रिंट आउट. आप एक बार देख लीजिए, एक पेज खाली चाहिए. Okay, so I think shall we start with test number 3 and then we'll shift to whatever we could not discuss yesterday. Today many were bouncers. Nice. It happens in the UPSC also. So I think I'm giving you exact same feeling. Should thank me for that. They are UPSC questions only actually. Yes, I think every question is UPSC question only. Okay, so let us look at the first question. A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks he becomes. We have discussed that to some extent. Yes, so this question is about cognitive aspect of attitude, that how your belief pattern, how your belief pattern actually decide. When the question is saying man is the product of his thought, what he thinks he becomes. So this becoming is what? Character only, because if you want to be called punctual, it's the same thing. Then those traits should become part of your character. So what is the distance that is there between this thinking, that is your belief pattern, and the character? It is behavior. Attitude, first attitude and then behavior. Consistent behavioral practice will lead to the development of trait. So basically, whatever your attitude is, whatever your value premise is, it will become part of your character only through consistent practice. Atomic habit, you can quote that also in your answer. Okay, the same thing, virtue approach, the same thing. Okay, so that is what this question is all about, that it is asking you to watch your thoughts. If you watch your thoughts, you will understand. I think that is something that I already discussed with you, that if you, have I discussed that? If you just want to know that where your preparation is going, whether you are a sincere student or not, then I ask you to watch your thoughts while you are doing non-academic things basically. Yes, anything. Bathroom was just an example. Anything. Then where your thought is going, you can contrast it just before examination. Just before examination, you are in Zen mode, that you are studying every time. Even in bathroom you are revising national park and Ramsar sites. The point is basically, you are so sincere in those time, and I know that you are thinking about examination only all the time. So that should be your stage now also to some extent, if not 100%. So that is what he's saying, that watch your thoughts. So first part of the answer will definitely be that how you can manifest that, basically how actually thoughts are guiding your behavior and then ultimately character. So you can give some examples, both positive and negative, that how your thoughts are guiding your behavior from positive perspective, and basically the negative perspective and then positive perspective. And one of the key takeaway is that you can change your character by changing your thought process. That is the important takeaway that is there. Okay, and there you can give various historical example and precedent. You can highlight that. Okay, and then in terms of relevance also you can highlight that if you want to change people's character at this point of time, then what you should focus upon. Okay, so that is the essence of this question. And this is what you can write your introduction. The same diagram also you can make in the introduction: belief pattern, attitude, consistent practice, that is behavior, then part of characteristic trait, virtue approach also you can write, or habit, atomic, whatever you want to write basically. Okay, so that can be your introduction. And then basically the examples, that how your belief in caste system, in the purity and pollution principle, can make you a casteist person. Understood? How your belief in gender inequality can make you a patriarch. All those examples. Negative assumptions about your own capability, may actually make you someone who is very inferior, who feels very inferior, that he is not good enough, he or she is not good enough. Understood? Your belief pattern about the God existence can make you a spiritual or non-spiritual person, regarding. Understood? So another aspect is that you can change, if you change your thoughts, it can change your behavior and then attitude. And there you can give the example of age of enlightenment, that the age of enlightenment was about changing the thought process, that how you can change your thought process, ultimately the character of the society. The society at that point of time was stagnant. It was not questioning. It was not questioning the prevailing belief pattern and everything. And that is the example that you can give. And that is what all these Greek thinkers, although great thinkers, they talked about, that you should question things, so that when you change your thought process, it will ultimately get reflected in the behavior also. The terrorists also, they are brainwashing people, that they are telling you that you will get there if you commit this thing. क्या बोलते हैं इसको, jihad नहीं, कहीं भी जाएंगे ना बेहतर हूर से मिलेंगे, whatever it is. Okay, so that is a terrorist brainwashing, that you are doing. Then Ashoka after Kalinga, when he started changing his thought process, self-reflection, and then how he became a non-violent person, how he also changed his character. Talking about relevance, that perhaps we would like people to change their behavior towards cleanliness, towards air pollution, towards gender equality, towards drugs, and perhaps it is also talking about the importance of your company, that it is often said that a man is the product of the average of the 5 people that he spends most time with. So it is actually asking you that you should keep good company. Understood? Many of the friendship will be shattered today. So it is asking you that you should keep great company, because ultimately that is how it will be shaping your thought process, your behavior. Understood or not? So that is what question is saying. And perhaps it is also talking about the importance of books also, because when you are reading good books, so it is actually changing your thought process, and ultimately that is a way to change your attitude and behavior. So that is the relevance, and how to translate your thought process and behavior, because that is also equally important. It is not just about thought, I mean, you can say, sir, I'm always thinking about Lavasana, why I'm not getting into Lavasana? Okay, so that is what also you can say. So it is saying that, those thought process must be translated into habitual action. So that is what you need to also highlight, that there should be centrality. Centrality means those thoughts should be central part of your behavior. It is not that on and off you are thinking about Lavasana. You should constantly think about Lavasana. Then only you will go to Lavasana. And then you must translate those thoughts into action. Basically, consistent practice and habitual practice is required. Understood? So that is what the overall perspective of this quotation is, that positively, negatively we can highlight. And basically this is what the analysis of this quote is, that basically you can change the attitude of the people. Historically it has been done. All the role of great intellectuals and thinkers in the revolutions, you talk about any revolution, you will find the role of thinkers. The role of thinkers, I mean, you see the role of print media, role of newspaper in national freedom movement. What is that? how this media is actually shaping the people's, the national freedom movement by shaping people's opinion, how they are thinking about the British regime. And this book by Dadabhai Naoroji, Economic Critique, the Economic Drain book, so that's also changed people's thought and the perception about the British Empire, and ultimately that led to the national movement and everything. So that is what you are talking about, that the entirety is about this thought process and how you can change this. Of course, you can talk about Instagram also, the echo chamber impact also, that if you are having the algorithm bias, then how your echo chamber effect can actually lead to the perpetuation of the bias. That is what you can also discuss. That is very much relevant to this discussion only. If you keep on thinking like that only, then it will be problematic. Understood? And you can counter that also, that in the context of relevance, the social media should be like this, media should be like this, and something and something. Understood? How many of you discuss at least 30 to 40% of this analysis? Great. तो improvement तो हो रहा है, nice. और क्या चाहिए जीने को? So yes, marks will come. So see, yesterday also I gave you one trick, that to whom this quotation is relevant. I mean, to whom you will say that, see, you need to watch your thoughts. So maybe you have younger brother or younger sister who is telling you, मेरा तो नहीं होगा. Because he's doubting himself or herself again and again. So perhaps you will tell her to watch your thoughts. You are thinking too negative. So perhaps to combat mental anxiety, and that is how you can talk about the relevance of this. Counseling is that. Counseling is changing a thought process, breaking that pattern of negative thought. So that also you can talk about. Okay. Got it. So you talk about relevance of the quotation in present time. That is what you write. And then, changing thought process to fight mental anxiety. For example, breaking the negativity loop like that. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? -10 से अभी अपन कहाँ बैठे हैं? थर्ड क्लास है. I will watch every day if we at least reach to positive. Yes. कैसे करेंगे? वो जरूरत नहीं है उसका, जरूरत है एफर्ट्स का. यहाँ पे वो क्वेश्चन से बहुत ज़्यादा सेंट्रल नहीं है, कि क्वेश्चन की बहुत ज़्यादा सेंट्रल नहीं है, वो आपके एफर्ट्स. आई नो योर एग्जाम्पल. Yes, suppose you are thinking about Lavasana, even if you are working hard, then also you will not get through, something like that. Okay, see, now the question is, when you are preparing for this examination, the question is talking about character. Okay, so if you are looking at this examination process from the perspective of an IAS officer, then you are having wrong perception of this examination. So what you are looking at as the character is whether you have become a hard-working person or not, whether you have become a disciplined person or not, whether you have become a sincere person or not. And if you are truly doing that, and then you will definitely become that person. That is what it is saying. It is not talking about success. It is talking about character. Both things are different. Success is contingent upon various factors, but here it is talking about character. मुझे ना अभी एक पेपर और डिस्कस करना है, ठीक है. दैट इज व्हाट आई एम. मैं 3 दिन से लेके आ रहा हूँ क्वालिटी ऑफ सर्विस डिलीवरी, ठीक है, एंड आई एम नॉट इवन एबल टू डिस्कस दैट, ठीक है. सो आई नीड टू परहैप्स पुट ए स्टॉप टू द डाउट्स, क्योंकि ऐसे करेंगे. यस्टरडे आई थिंक आई डिस्कस ओनली 2 क्वेश्चन इन 1 आवर. द फर्स्ट 2 क्वेश्चन टुक 1 आवर. आई मीन एट दिस पेस तो ये खत्म ही नहीं होगा ना क्लास कभी. सो फिर डॉक्टर साहब पूछ लीजिए, आप हमेशा नेगेटिव साइड पे रहते हैं, बताइए. डेफिनेटली. हाँ, तो वो तो मैंने बोल दिया ना भैया स्टार्टिंग में. मैंने आपको बताया, या तो आप सीधा यहाँ पे अलग से हेडिंग भी बना सकते हैं, और यू कैन इंक्लूड दैट एज पार्ट ऑफ एग्जाम्पल हियर ऑल्सो. यू कैन मिक्स द आर्ग्यूमेंट. दैट इज ऑल्सो यू कैन डू. एंड कैन वी राइट अबाउट डे ड्रीमिंग? हाउ यू विल राइट अबाउट डे ड्रीमिंग? आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस ना, दैट द आइडियाज शुड बी complemented by action. That is what you need to write. ऐसा क्यों लग रहा है मोए मोए होगा? 4 बजे बुलाकर आज क्लास 8 बजे तक चलेगी. आप पहले भी बंद कर सकते हैं, आपको पता है एक मैजिक स्विच है आपके पास, ऑफ कर सकते हैं आप सिंपल, ठीक है. अब लोग भूल जाते हैं कि एवरीथिंग इज इन देयर कंट्रोल. चलो अगला क्वेश्चन चलें. समझ में आ गया आपको? Understood? So this part is important. Basically, when you are attempting quotation-based question, see, if you can just write even 30 to 40% of this, still you will be far, far better than most of the aspirant, because they will be stuck around this only. And they will not even get here also. I'm telling you this honestly. You just ask your friends to write this question and you will see a lot of difference that is there in their answers and your answer. That is the reality, okay? And that is why, I mean, the same thing that she said, okay, कि ऐसा लगेगा कि हम कभी लिख नहीं पाएंगे, but one day you will write. Have faith in yourself, okay? Have faith in yourself. So, next question. क्वेश्चन का ऑर्डर चेंज हो सकता है ना, मैं पहले ही बता रहा हूँ. ये है भी नहीं क्वेश्चन, ये है ही नहीं. ये दिस हैपेंड, ओके. चलो तो अगला क्वेश्चन देख लेते हैं. ये नहीं है तो ओके. Okay, nearly all men can withstand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. We have discussed that already. Yes? So what are the broad contour of this question? Basically, how power tests one's character by giving you the real choice, and how you are actually deciding your choice will reveal your character. And it has revealed not just individual's character, nation's character also. You can give the example of America, you know, after American Revolution, it also started taking part in colonization. You know, having the influence in the neighborhood region, America first policy and everything. Then you can also talk about institutions also. So basically, I mean, everyone's character gets checked when you are given power, because you really have choices. Then nearly all men can withstand adversity. This part you can address because it is about survival. When it is about survival, then people's instincts are there, they take over. But it also tests your character, that you can counter. That it is not the adversity does not test your character. We have discussed that. Remember? No? Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. कभी हाँ कभी ना. अरे बताओ तो. कर लिया? आप बताइए सर. कर लिया, मान लेते हैं आपकी बात को, ठीक है. So and then of course the conclusion should go towards checks and balances of the power. That power, of course, it is necessary, but you should not give anyone unbridled power. There should be checks and balances. So that is where absolute power corrupts absolutely. That is what you need to write ultimately. Okay, so this is the broad structure of this question. We have discussed that already. Yes. Online वालों समझ में आ गया? How relevant in the present context? That you tell, Suhani. Something you should also tell. You tell. So many examples we already. Abuse of power. You know, the bulldozer example is that only, abuse of power. You give that SC reference here only. You know, it is abuse of power only. Sheer abuse of power. Show me the man, show you the rule. Is the abuse of power only. The same example. It is highlighting your character only. Understood? Adversity, that first part you should confer with that statement that yes, it is mostly about survival. So I mean, people can withstand that, and that no, but when you give power, they may have real choices, because when you are fighting about survival, you may not have the real choice. Just like you guys, you are fighting for survival, you do not have any choice for corruption. Okay, so you will say that, sir, I will not take bribe. But when you are actually given that choice, then actually it will reveal your character. So from there you start, but at last you also argue that, I mean, you always have option. Understood? Understood? So this question also came in this year's essay paper. Okay, if you have not gone through the essay paper by chance, then I feel so suppressed. Your thinking is too much broader than mine. You will also get there with time, and I'm saying this again and again and again and again, that even if you reach to 50-60%, you will be doing absolutely fine. Okay, that is what she also told you. मैं तो उसको, मुझे तो यही बुलवाना था उससे कि भाई यही बोल दो कम से कम, कुछ नहीं है तो, कि everyone goes through this phase only. How else I can make you believe in that? बताइए तो सही. अब तो उसने भी आके बोल दिया. बताओ उसको आय श्रीवास्तव का आई थिंक पढ़ा है क्या कुछ, उसको भी वो पैराग्राफ में लिखता था पहले, लंबे लंबे पैराग्राफ, उसको भी बोला था कि भाई ऐसे मत लिखो. सो एवरी टॉपर गोज थ्रू दैट. ठीक है, तो इट इज जस्ट ए लर्निंग कर्व, एंड पेस ऑफ लर्निंग कैन बी डिफरेंट, एंड दैट इज वेयर द डिफरेंस विल कम. Conclusion only. Checks and balances should be part of conclusion, just before conclusion. Okay. Checks and balances. More focus should be on that how does power is testing man's character and everything, and there you can broaden your argument, not just from individual perspective. Understood? Do we need to write relevance in all quotes? Can we dedicate 30%? Relevance, see, don't write relevance like that. Relevance in every quotation you are writing. I mean, you have to be smart about it. Some part you write relevance, because the question is like that only. What does following quotation means to convey to you in the present context? So it is asking you for the relevance only. So you are telling the examiner that I'm addressing it separately. At times you can mix it with the help of example with the argument also. Understood? अब पहली बार आए क्या? ऐसा पहले भी आ रहे थे? अच्छा, आज आगे बैठे हैं जी, बताइए, कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया जिनको? बताइए. हाँ, आप उल्टा भी आर्गू कर सकते हैं कि that people got power but it did not corrupt them. That is why they are held to be the men of great character. Mandela example you give. You know that how he had the option to, do all the retaliation then that he can, but he did not do it. So that reflected his character only. Yes.
Do subheading बनाया था. Nearly all men can withstand adversity और दूसरा subheading power test a man's character. और उसके बाद उसके अंदर ही relevance और counterpoints और कि adversity भी survival.
ठीक है, तो क्या दिक्कत?
तो ये भी
हाँ, कर सकते हैं.
दिख नहीं रहा इस वाले मॉडल.
क्या नहीं दिख रहा है?
ये तो सबहेडिंग बना के लिख सकते हैं.
हाँ, लिख सकते हैं. Okay, can I move to the next question? Okay, this question will be, I think, be perhaps a bit difficult for you. Yes? UPSC question only, not my question. So you can blame UPSC. थोड़ा आसान question दिया करे. The true rule in determining to embrace or reject, actually this is, okay, just read it. The true rule in determining to embrace or reject anything is not whether it has any evil in it, okay, but whether it has more evil than good, okay. And there are few things wholly good or wholly evil. Almost everything, especially in the context of government policy, is an inseparable compound of the two. So our best judgment of the preponderance between them is continuously demanded. यहाँ पे आके थोड़ा सा ठीक है. So the question is actually saying that there are only few things which exist in black and white. Okay, there are few things that exist in black and white which you can reject and which you can accept. Most things exist in gray areas. I mean, they contain some good aspect and they contain some bad aspect. And your continuous judgment is demanded whether this thing is whether this thing is more good or more evil. This is what question is saying. And that is more true when we are dealing with government policy. So which part of the question we did not understand? I mean, just like you, I cannot term you an evil guys. Yes, that is what you will say. Sir, इतने बुरे नहीं हैं हम. Yes, हमें कुछ अच्छाइयाँ भी हैं. Yes, so same thing. Okay, that not everything is wholly good and wholly bad. That it is a culmination of both of them, and we need to see the preponderance of one over the other, whether you are mostly a good person or bad person in this context. Understood? So that is what it is saying in the context of government policy also, that seldom it will exist that what we are doing is wholly good and wholly bad. Just like, genocide. And genocide is wholly bad. So seldom, how many countries are engaged in genocide? Very few. So seldom governments will engage, government policy will be like wholly bad. It will be seldom only. It is mostly the case, and seldom also wholly good. That is also true. It is mostly in the gray areas, and I think there we should recall the discussion that we already had, that when we are dealing with the government, then government is catering to too many diverse interests. So if we are catering to one interest, we will be going against some other interest. So lockdown, when we wanted to impose lockdown, so it was not about wholly good and wholly bad option, because if you are imposing lockdown, there is good side to it, that is saving life, and there is bad side to it, that is liberty, economy, everything is going bad. So when you are taking decision as part of government, it will not always be that black and white easy for you, that whether I should impose lockdown or not. There are things that you should contemplate, there are things that you should see, there are wider perspective that you should have. There is a lot of interest stakeholders that are attached to your decision making, and that is what question is saying, that your continuous judgment is actually demanded when you are making that decision, so that so that you know that it is mostly good or not. And when you are doing that, did you not recall utilitarianism? That is what it is saying, that when you are making the decision, you make the decision for the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people, because it will ideally you will want that all the people should be happy, but in government policy it will not happen. Some people will always feel bad about it. So that is what it is saying, that you strive for greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. So that is the core message of this quote. Now you are able to understand that quote? समझ में आ रहा है थोड़ा थोड़ा? So now what will be the answer? The first part will be that only, that how we are, yes, prudent decision making is a very good keyword here, very nice. So how exactly, that you are prepondering, how you are actually deciding on a case by case basis that whether you are doing more good than evil, because there will be some evil side to it. If you are having developmental project, there will be environmental cost. Understood or not? If GDP is rising, there will be inequality. Some part will always be there as part of, lockdown, there was something else. Understood or not? Whatever you are, subsidies, if you are going for subsidies, then the other side, fiscal discipline side is also there. A fiscal deficit side is also there. So whatever you are doing, it will have other consequences, demerits also. So in government policy, it is not easy to take, especially in the context of government policy, it is not easy to take decision, because seldom we will have black and white decision making. That is, and it is simply highlighting, and that can be your introduction. It is simply highlighting the complexity of the governance and complexity of the dilemmas that are there when you are making that decision, that not often it will be very easy to make that decision. You will be encountering dilemmas only time and again, so that if you are going for one, the second part may not be done. Understood or not? Understood or not? So that is what it is saying. Development versus democracy, for example. In terms of decision making, if you are fast tracking so many things, then you may have to cut down on various, at times, mechanisms for participation and everything. So you give the example of developmental projects, subsidies, UPSPA, you very great example, UPSPA. It is not wholly good and wholly evil, Continuous judgment is demanded. Continuous assessment is demanded whether we need UPSPA or not. And that is why it was removed for quite some time and again imposed. And that is what it is saying, that you have to, internet shutdowns, everything, curfew. All these are example of that only, that, you need to see your continuous judgment is demanded whether what you are doing is good or not. You talk about individual level, women who are sacrificing their career because they want to take care of the child. Now, this is not exactly an ideal situation. In a way that you cannot turn that decision totally wrong or totally right. Continuous judgment is demanded how you will be sharing the responsibility with your husband with respect to taking care of your child. Understood or not? So ultimately, what are the ethical consideration that you should public good, and it is mostly about utilitarian perspective, that since I already agree that yes, whatever decision I am making, there will be some downside to it, so I cannot make everyone happy. That is what it is saying. There will always be some downside to it. So what it is asking me, that you should at least maximize this good part. That is nothing but utilitarian perspective. Understood? But now, my dear student, there comes the role of critical perspective, because we cannot, we cannot justify everything in the name of greater good. The aspect of ethical egoism that we discussed, the aspect of constraint of utilitarianism that we discussed. We cannot justify completely evil in the name of greater good, because there is simply slope. We cannot justify encounters in a way that it is leading bulldozer justice in a way that is leading to justice. Because ultimately it will simply slope, and you are actually taking away rights of the people. Disproportionate use of violence to disperse, protect, everything. Understood? Because see, the government will say that we are doing this for greater good. That is what they say. That is what they say. But it is asking you, that a critic perspective is that in the name of greater good, we should not always subjugate individual right. We should have that cautious judgment all the time. So that part, 20 to 30% will come before, 20-25% will come before conclusion. And this is a very, very analytical perspective. And that's what, learning something and applying that can be two different things altogether. How many of you included this? Oh, I am very proud of you, all of you. Very proud. Actually, seriously, because this is a very, very difficult question. If you are able to write this, then you must be very proud of yourself, because it requires a hell lot of, applied thinking when you are actually writing this answer and then bringing this perspective. I am so proud of you, each one of you who wrote this line. Those who did not, it will come with time. But they were also not writing great answer on the first day. So it will come with time. And of course, the way forward should be that when we are taking that decision, we should take care about human rights, fairness, justice, and everything. How we should decide that policy making? Like this. Understood or not? Understood? Now you read the question again, and then perhaps you will understand better. if possible for you, can you please tell the meaning of ethical egoism? You are cute. Is it possible for me? Ethical egoism is actually asking you to take care of the self-interest, ethically. That is what it is asking you. Ethical altruism you can quote, yes, you can quote. But ethical altruism, it supports only this argument, more or less. I'm talking about the counter perspective.
That argument, whole is more than the sum of parts.
Whole is more than the sum of the parts. Basically, greater good only. You are supporting the argument. Golden mean you can write. You can write that. वो आप स्टार्टिंग में इंट्रोडक्शन में बता दीजिए कि होली इविल एंड होली गुड थिंग्स डू नॉट एग्जिस्ट इन ब्लैक द स्टार्ट लाइन दैट आर dilemmas in policy makings are very complex and seldom we encounter things which are wholly right and wholly wrong in black and white. That can be your introduction, and there you start with the gray areas and then this part. Okay, I've included one dimension for individual because it is telling especially of the government policy. Most of the focus should be on government policy. One or two dimension you can include from other perspective, family perspective, corporate perspective, any other perspective. Understood? The corporation is the same example. How to draw balance between profitability and ethicality. That is there. How to ensure the firing of the employees during COVID time. Because you need to ensure survival at the same time you are, saying tata to some employees. So that decision is not easy. यहाँ कोई थे? जी. Can we include Supreme Court के बाद नहीं? Continuous. You can continuous judicial review of the decision. You can always, yes. Equal distribution is also equally important along with net happiness. That is not what it is saying exactly in a way. Episodic bypassing of law. That we already discussed. Episodic bypassing of law in a greater good may not be good thing. May not be good thing. That is what we are arguing against. That you can talk about. Goodwill, good intentions are important. Yes, please take photo. Previous slide, did you take photo? No? Okay, please take photo. When you revise it for the second or third times after we are done with the answer writing, then you will get greater interlinkages. Okay, that is why we are having two full length tests, one after what we have done and another in January. Okay, so you will have a lot of time to revise and apply. Just be sincere in terms of improvement and you will get there. Slowly you will get there. Just don't give up. Shreya, please come back. Done? This is integrity pledge I posted on Telegram. Okay, some important keywords did you see that when we are fighting, when we are ensuring probity mechanism, the whistleblower mechanism, grievance redressal mechanism, sensitization of the officials towards rules and regulations, they are important key terms that you need to write. See the dimensions that we have to write when we are countering organizational corruption. Okay, so as a leader, what you will do, this is what you should do, more or less. Done? Why did you write justify completely evil when it is all grey? When did I say that? मैंने बोला कुछ ऐसा? मुझे तो याद नहीं आ रहा, आप थोड़ा बताइए मैंने exactly क्या बोला? Mostly it is there because especially government policy लिखा हुआ है ना, so mostly it is about that. हाँ. Wholly bad. हाँ. The gray area is the main demand of the question, na? That is what it is saying, that there are few things which are wholly evil and wholly good. There are few things that exist in black and white. Rest of the things exist, in gray area only. And that is our continuous judgment is demanded.
So gray area जो basically character policy है and then I wrote
Though that part you should explain the government policy only.
हाँ मैं अलग से किया
नहीं तो उसको गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी के संग मर्ज कर दो, you would have saved space there, because you would need example to substantiate whatever point you were writing. You explain that with government policies,
और उसके
and then you write one or two example from other part just to highlight, because especially लिखा हुआ है, it is not other part.
ethical consideration अलग से नहीं है
You can merge that. Why are you fixating on this answer? Don't fixate. These are broad answer. At times I make a separate heading because for that I do not forget that I have to discuss that very separately. So you should not, take that. Cost benefit analysis, government policy. That is what is the demand of the question. The continuous judgment is that only. Done? Okay, the next question. This is the question. Judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. So this is more of a descriptive question. Okay, the analysis is there, but it is the tone is more descriptive. That what it is asking you actually. Can anyone highlight the core message of the quote? All of you are giving examples. These are not the core. Sacrifice तो लिखा हुआ है भाई क्या? हाँ थोड़ा पास हो आप. और simply means versus ends भाई. It is asking you that you should. कहाँ बोला वो कीवर्ड में? कहाँ टाइम 5 घंटा थोड़ा ना सुनने को. Means versus end. It is asking you that judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. Get it ends. What you have to give up is means. How you are not getting there? Means versus end. How many of you did not even write this keyword mean versus end? लिखा ही नहीं, आंसर में ही नहीं लिखा. That is rather bad. Some responsibility you should also take. In order to get it, this is end, objective. What else you need? Should examiner write end only here for you to understand? No, this is not expected. This is bad. No? Bit more careful reading of the question is required, So it is talking about just that worthiness of the success, the end will depend upon the quality of means you are adopting. Simply that. Nothing else. And Gandhian sins and everything you can quote here. That you want to have wealth without work, it is a sin, because you are not sacrificing your leisure. And still you want to have ends of wealth. It is a sin, and that is why it is not worthy. All these things, if you are sacrificing your dignity or character for your success, then it is not worthy success. Harshad Mehta, for example, that is what it is saying. If you are sacrificing sound corporate governance principle or organizational principle for quick corporate success, then it is bad. The fall of the attack you can talk about, or the Volkswagen scandal you can talk about. Individualistically speaking, giving upon the family ones, loved ones, for the success of the individual success. It is also bad. That success is not worthy if you are not able to take care of your family, your loved ones, for whom you are also responsible. Understood or not? Because you also have duty towards them. It is not just about individualistic success. So if you are giving up that okay, I will be very much individualistic in my career and I will not take care of the family member, my elderly parents, my children, then that success is not worthy success. That is what this is telling you. Sacrificing your physical and mental health. Suppose you become an IAS officer and you just punish yourself so much in terms of physical and mentally that you are on the verge of collapse. Then what good that success is to you? That is what it is saying. And on the other hand, the negative side, not giving up your leisure, work wealth without corruption, basically all that is bad. On the other hand, the people who have really given up the good things, the things that should be given up, for example, Lord Rab, he gave up the throne because he wanted to fulfill the promises that his father had made. It was a worthy success. Gandhi ji, Gandhiji had lot of sacrifices. Sacrificed his personal career as barrister and everything. Tata sacrifices the excessive profit because it wants to be ethical. It understands its responsibility. Success of India by sacrificing the comfort of alignment just after independence. We could have got more comfort if we had aligned with any of the group. But we sacrificed that comfort because we did not want to compromise on our sovereignty. So that is what you need to write here. So in this question, you just need to see in different way that what, just see how I have thought, just see. Judge your success by what you had to give up. Okay. So judge whose success? Individual success, organization success, nation success. Okay. What I have to give up? So individuals, what they can give up? They can give up their health, they can give up their principles, their conscience, they can give up their family members, they can give up their duties and responsibilities. So here one argument is done. What can organizations do? So organizations, they want to achieve excessive profit, so they can give up on corporate governance principle and everything. What nations can do? They can give up on their sovereignty. The debt trap diplomacy that was there of, so the nations who were, who actually took so much of loans from China, they gave up on their sovereignty. So that success is not worthy, whatever material success they were hoping for, because they gave some part of their sovereignty away. So can you think how I am progressing? At collective society also you can talk about. Collective society, you can also talk about that. So I am progressing from individual, let's say from society, nations, something like organization and nations, and I am just considering what each of these people can give up. So positively, negatively I have discussed, and similarly positively I can discuss. Fairly easy question. Nothing I have told you extra. I am, okay, how many of you have written at least 50% of that? चेहरों से तो लग रहा था नहीं लिखा है. I was worried actually. Because how can I make you think in terms of these levels? You tell me. I've been telling, this is my third class. I've been telling the same thing again and again. How can I make you think? कैसे लिखा आपने? You included all those dimensions? कौन से थोड़े से? ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का लिखा आपने? हाँ, CEO तो लिख दिया. बाकी इंडिविजुअल और वो नेशन रह गया. और पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव दोनों लिखा. ठीक है तो. This is the most simplest template that is there, that does not require much thinking. Just think from different angle and think positive, negative. If you cannot do anything, do this at least. Still you will be writing far better than your competitor. That I am telling you. If you don't believe in me, just see the answers of your friends. But at least you should do it. I agree that this is difficult. I agree this part was difficult. And that is why, I told those students that I am very proud of you that if you have included that. I agree, but this is not difficult. This is sheer lack of application on your part, because there is nothing that you have discussed that I did not tell you before. क्या किया जाए आपका? जो कितने लोगों ने, how many of you are dissatisfied with their answer with respect to this question? Totally dissatisfied. क्या किया जाए? What can I do? What stopped you from thinking at different levels? अरे आप बताइए. What stopped you? हाँ.
सर सोसाइटी मतलब एक तो स्पेशल डायमेंशन.
पहले तो डिससेटिस्फैक्शन तो कुछ है, तो उसी की बात करते हैं. जो कर दिया उसकी बात मत करो. You tell me that.
I was not going in a sequence. It was happening random.
हाँ. So learn that. One of the feedback that I get from all the topper is that, sir, you made us think how to think, or in a very structured format. Learn that, na? Learn that part only. That is how you will make it different. कोई भगवान का आशीर्वाद थोड़ा ना मिल जाएगा कि कल से तो बस बहुत बढ़िया आंसर लिख रहे हैं. You only have to make that difference from now onwards. That is how you have to think. Okay, so I'm glad at least most of you, many of you actually were able to implement that. But see, I will be really glad if climate change is a very good example that you are giving up on the environmental sustainability for the sake of material success. So that GDP growth is not worthy, that material growth is not worthy. That is what you can write. तो वो किसकी सक्सेस आप देख रहे हैं? तो वो क्वेश्चन के बियॉन्ड है ना. वो काउंटर भी नहीं है. मतलब how do you think it is relevant to the question? No fussy doctrine is a very good example of that. Yes. term you limited my dimension to individual level only. I mean, that is how you need to go beyond that. Okay, you can be anyone actually. Okay, that is how you need to see. Just break the question. No, just break the question. This you can be individual, society, nation, organization. Giving up can be anything. What you can give up, material thing, physical, health, well-being, relationships, everything from a different perspective. That is what a nation can give up. Talk about that. Politicians are giving up their principles. If you have just gone through the PYQ, essay PYQ again and again, one beautiful essay quote was there that you could have quoted here, that those who lose their privileges, those who lose their principles, क्या था, principal and privilege, no, money नहीं था, those who lose their principles over privileges loses both. Okay, so that was the essay topic. Those who lose their principles over privileges, they ultimately lose both. And that is a great example there. That if you are losing and you could have quoted that, but a precondition is you have to go through PYQs again and again. But हम क्यों करेंगे वो? हम तो नहीं करेंगे वो. There is a lot of overlap that is there. And if you are writing that essay, suppose, and if you have gone through this PYQ, suppose this was earlier, then you can quote this also in that essay. See, all of you must focus on usability of information, not on gathering more information. There is no limit to information, I am telling you. No limit. You want, sir, give us more example, more. Arey bhai, you are not even using what I am telling you. Why are you, why are you fixating on more and more content? So just have this mental switch here that is how I will use this information in different dimensions. Understood? Usability of information is very, very important. Okay, what about online students? So that is not criticizing, Udit, that is you are aligning with the question only. Because that is what it is saying, that you should know what to give up and what not to give up. So perhaps in a conclusion you can talk about prudence, role of wisdom, role of knowledge, Greek thinker also you can bring in, because prudence is one of the cardinal virtue. So you can talk about that at the end, because one must have a cardinal virtue of prudence to understand what one should give up and not, and it will require more emotional intelligence, etc. And that is how you can talk about in conclusion. And that is sort of way forward, that is how you should go about in decision making. Understood? Ji. थोड़ा सा हिट नहीं कर रहा है वो उतना. अब बस अब सोचो ना, हर बच्चा पूछे कि सर मेरे आंसर में ये भी अब बोलो मेरे को क्वालिटी सर्विस डिलीवरी पढ़ानी है, ठीक है, जो 3 दिन से पेंडिंग है, आप समझिए, ठीक है, बाद में अगला आपको मेरी बात समझ में आ रही है? जो समझ में आ रहा है वो तो इम्प्लीमेंट होता नहीं है, ठीक है. सीधा जो बोल रहा हूँ कि भैया 3 लेवल पे सोच लो, 4 लेवल पे सोच लो. एंड पता नहीं, बस ये पता है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मैनी ऑफ यू आस्क योर डाउट, आई मीन जस्ट टू हैव दिस वैलिडेशन कि ठीक है सर इतना सुना रहे हैं, इतना कम से कम सुन लेते हैं कि यार ये वाला पार्ट हमारा सही है क्या नहीं, ठीक है. नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ द डाउट इटसेल्फ, बट बिकॉज यू वांट दिस सेटिस्फैक्शन कि एटलीस्ट सम पार्ट वी हैव डन राइट. why do you want that validation from me? You should look at the learning. I'm not saying all doubts are like that. I'm saying that at times doubt spring from that you just want to have that satisfaction that what we have written is right. Even though your question is not even 50% of that, it is haywire, you know what the learning is, then still you want the satisfaction, at least one line that I have written, it is correct. Why, man? That way you will never learn. One student, who was showing me his answer, I forgot the first paper, and the first dimension you have totally missed. And I was telling him that you have missed the first dimension totally. Then he flipped the page and showed me the second dimension that he had written. I mean, is the attitude that you should have? I mean, the marks for the first part is the marks for the first part. If you are not writing that, you will not get marks for that. If you are writing the second part, you will get marks for the second part only. And I will come to that when I read the second part. So be very prudent. That's what I will say. Okay? चलो आगे चलते हैं. I mean, Okay, you wanted to do a photo, I think, yes? Kanak, are you here? Okay, yes. Done? मैंने इतना बोल दिया है ना, मैं रात में एक मैसेज आएगा आपको टेलीग्राम पे सोने से पहले कि कोई डिप्रेशन में तो नहीं चला गया. See, यार, you have to see it that I'm very passionate about the improvement. You see, ultimately it does not matter to me. See, I know I'm putting my best efforts here, but it matters to me. It is very personal to me at times that if I'm scolding you, I don't know you. I don't know you beyond this classroom. So at times it becomes personal. Your success becomes personal. So that is how it is. So you should take that in that spirit only. बाहर जाके मुझे पीट पाट मत देना सब मिलके. Okay, let's move to the next question. This question is easy. We have discussed that. Next question. Yes. थोड़ा AC कर देंगे, पसीना आ रहा है. टेम्परेचर कम कर दीजिए. आ रहा है भाई, देखो आपने पूरा माहौल बढ़िया कर दिया. So in a case of conscience, crisis of conscience, does EI help to overcome the same without compromising the ethical and moral stand you are likely to follow? So this question has actually two parts. Okay, I think I've discussed one thing, that it is asking you whether A can help you in B. This A is EI. Whether EI can help you in resolving crisis of conscience, that is one part. Because in one part you will be arguing that yes, it can do, and another part will be that yes, there may be some challenges. Yes, more or less, that is how you will be dividing your answer. So it is like how A is leading to B, so you can just divide A. So here you can just divide EI, the 5 or 4 more major component of EI, how each of these component can help in resolving of ethical dilemma. And the second part you can talk about the limitation. Understood? Understood? We have discussed that. To some extent we have discussed that. Yes, so you can simply start with the definition. Okay, and then you actually write that how actually EI is resolving the crisis of conscience. Because if you become better self-aware about yourself, then perhaps you can resolve the dilemma of whistle blowing, that whether you are blowing the whistle for publicity region or for public interest. So that resolution of dilemma will only come from better self-awareness, and that is how EI will help you. Understood? Similarly, better social awareness. We talk about Naxal, the problem of Naxalism. So if you are not having better social awareness, then what you will have? You will have a security, law and order approach towards the Naxalism, that as if it is the problem of law and order only. But a better social awareness will tell you that it has humanitarian side also. Similarly, the tribal punch shield that we have discussed, Nehru. Nehru gave the same example. If we do not have better social awareness, then we will have assimilation perspective, or the perspective that we should, keep them in museum, something like that. That we should, not intervene in everything. But a tribal punch shield is actually a golden mean. So that only comes with better social awareness. So you see how we should approach tribal, whether there should be assimilation or whether there should be total isolation. So this dilemma was resolved by better social awareness, like we need to go by this. Similarly, how we should approach Naxal problem, whether it is a law and order problem or it has humanitarian angle as well, better social awareness told you that you should talk about samadhan. So better social awareness can help you. Then better control of emotion. For example, you talk about military personnel and everything. So all of them, when they are facing this crisis for their life, so they also have this dilemma whether to run away or whether to go ahead and do their duty and sacrifice. So they need to have better control on their emotion, otherwise emotion will be guiding their decision making and they will not be able to resolve the dilemma. Understood? So that is what it is there, that larger, and that is when having the larger emotional control will allow them to see the larger perspective of the public service, that they are here to do public service, and that means that they should be selfless. That means that they should go beyond their individualistic survival and talk about societal perspective. Similarly, social relationship management, work-life balance, for example, when you are a leader, to ensure work-life balance, how to ensure balance between centralization and decentralization, and that only comes with better social awareness. better social relationship management. When you are managing that relationship, then only you can have a relationship in which you are actually acting like a team member also, and actually are able to implement the authoritarian decision also at times when it is required. So a balance between centralization and decentralization. Understood? Better relationship from government angle, how they are able to balance between tribals and the industrialist. That also comes with better relationship management between industrialist and all these things. So I think now you are able to understand that how we will be dividing the major aspect of the EI and how each of them will be actually be able to help in terms of resolving ethical dilemmas. But then, as we have discussed, the EI is merely an ability, and that is why it can be misused also. So a person who is having lot of EI, he knows that he can manipulate person. So if he is having the dilemma whether to do this or not, and just because he is having this EI, he will know that people will trust this person and he will be able to manipulate them. And that is why EI may not always resolve the ethical dilemma in a way, in a way that you are likely to follow, in a way from a moral perspective. So it can give you an option in which you are following the immoral option because of the ability you are having. Because someone, suppose someone, all these cyber or the people who are duping you over call, suppose they do not have this ability to influence your decision making. Suppose they do not have this ability, because that is actual an ability only. I mean, they can influence you for good thing also, for all that matter, but they are using that to manipulate you into sharing of your OTP and everything. So basically, when they are calling you, suppose they do not have this ability, then will they call you and try to do that? They will not do. Understood? So that is what it is. That Yudhishthira and Ashwathama, because Yudhishthira knew that he is credible. Yudhishthira knew that what he will say. I mean, he had this relationship management EI, that he will be able to do that, and that's why he spoke that Ashwathama mara gaya but nar nahi hati. Then we talk about the administration. At times, administration, it becomes manipulative with respect to the protesters. Tribal it will give them something, who has to manipulate them, and that is why the peace will not last long. Whenever so many peace accords are there with insurgents in Northeast, but they have not lasted long because they did not hit the core premise. Understood? So that is why it is that you may, it is simply an ability, so you may ultimately follow the negative side also. And that is why that can be your conclusion. The EI is only an ability, and ultimately your moral values, your priorities of values, and your commitment matters when you are actually resolving the ethical dilemmas. Understood? Understood? So how many of you wrote this? I mean, this is fairly easy, I guess. All of you almost? आप जो क्वेश्चन तो आसान था वो किया नहीं आपने. Okay. And this part, the negative side, at least some part of it you wrote. How many of you did not write the second part, the negative side? कितने लोगों ने नहीं लिखा? अब आपके लिए क्या किया जाए? Because I mentioned that very specifically when I was teaching EI, that EI is only an ability. यहाँ भी कोई थे क्या? जल्दबाजी में सर, ऐसे जल्दबाजी मत करो सर, बाद में पछताओगे जी. What you are practicing here, that is the only thing that will carry to the examination hall. So you should be very careful. You should read question very carefully and everything. Understood? Yes. Why you want to join civil services through self-awareness? That is a very good example, Pankaj. Very nice. Because better self-awareness will resolve your dilemma that why exactly you are doing it. Okay? Ji? I mean, mostly it is about that, because mostly EI is good only. I mean, mostly if you are emotionally intelligent, then you are compassionate also and everything. So 50-50 will be too much actually. 30% maybe you can include if you want.
So can we write the 4 cardinal virtues in the first part? By following it.
Why?
By following it.
In conclusion?
Yes.
Conclusion where you can write anything. Ji? किसमें? युधिष्ठिर को कैसा कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं थी क्योंकि क्रेडिबिलिटी पे दाग लगने वाला है कि अश्वत्थामा को जब बोलेंगे कि मारा गया, and whether they will be able to trust or not. So still he went ahead with that because he knew fully well that he will be able to manipulate the other person, and that only came with the EI. So from that perspective I'm talking about. Administrations, when there are certain people who go, conflict is there, the protesters have come, so you are an SP, protesters have come, and you will say something to them because you are in a position of power, you have position of authority, and you have a position to manipulate them into believing that what you are saying is actually true, and then you will simply be transferred because you know that you will not have any consequence for that, and then those people will be manipulated. So that is how various protests are manipulated. Protesters are usually not given real solution, they are only given promises, and that only comes because they believe that they can manipulate it. Understood? You take photo. Any other example also you can write, whatever example you also believe. And with EI also you can manipulate yourself, I mean, crisis of conscience, one thing was that we discussed in terms of limitation of conscience was, if you can remember, that we can manipulate ourselves also. I mean, if I'm smoking cigarette, then I will manipulate myself into believing anyway I'm having so many cigarettes through pollution, what bad will happen, because I can rationalize my behavior. So that also comes with EI, because you are so self-aware and socially aware that you are simply, making your guilt go by giving such argument. Limitation of conscience, if you can recall that argument. So by becoming more social aware, by becoming more self-aware, you can rationalize your wrong behavior. You can rationalize your guilt also. Crisis of conscience. Crisis of conscience means guilt only. You can rationalize your guilt also by such behavior. Understood? Because you are ego defense mechanism. Because you are more self-aware, and that is part of EI only. Becoming more self-aware, socially aware. Understood? Online वालों समझ में आ रहा है? Whistleblower is here only, na? Understood? Understood or not? फोटो वोटो खींच लो, हो गया पक्का? Okay. Yes, the dilemma between objectivity and compassion is another great example that EI will help you in solving that. So I think this we have discussed so many times. Yes, in a law, man is guilty when he violates the right of others. In ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing so. Okay, so we have discussed this so many. It is talking about limitation of law, because at times there may not be evidence to enforce, so conscience role is important. Introspection, personal responsibility, asking you to take personal responsibility even though you are not legally accountable for what you are doing. And the real life example, misusing of rights, dowry rights. So many cases are there where a dowry law has been misused and everything. Even though they will not be punished for exactly misusing the right, and even then they should not actually do it. Understood? Doing charity for publicity, not for the respect of the law, doing charity for publicity. So I think we have discussed that question so many times, and I'm sure you would have written a good answer on this. Yeah. Integrity you could have added, yes. Done. This question was fairly simple in the context of discussion, not in the examination hall. Online वालों समझ में आ रहा है? We can include various dimension. Okay, so here you can include more point actually, various point that you have discussed from the perspective of limitation of. Headings would be like that. These are the headings mostly that what he wants to say. The respect for the moral law can also be the heading, that you are actually believing in constitutional morality, spirit of the act, not just letter of the act, everything. Core message, because here it is talking about core message, not you. See, I mean, in a law, a man is guilty. If you stop here, it does not make any sense. Is it making any sense? It is not making, and neither it is also making. He violates the rights of. In ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing so, because this part is in the context of this, and together only they are making some sense. The question is basically between the interface between law and ethics, and there you have to write your answer. So either yes, you can write about that, like that, limitation of law, and then you go towards ethics. That's what you can do. Subheadings आप दीजिए. I will encourage you to do that. At least give subheading from the question only, so that examiner know you are answering the question. I get core message, but intro में stuck हो जाता हूँ. भाई तो उसी को तो लिखना है core message को. What you get, you should write. That is what you have to write. That is what you have to write.
For limitation of law, can we write some importance of law also?
Importance of?
Law. Then its
repetition, then
That you can write at the end perhaps. That law is also necessary, something like that, that law shapes and ethics also shapes law, interdependency towards that. दिखा दिया खुशी जी, आगे 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 बढ़े. Done? This question is done? हमने क्लास कितने बजे स्टार्ट करी आज? 5:30 ना? Okay. 4:30. Yes, your class is at 4:30. हाँ समझ गए सर, समझ गए. बस कभी माफ भी कर दिया करो मुझे, अज्ञान हूं मैं. Forgiveness is the attribute of strong. Just forgive me, my lord. आगे चलें. Okay, the next question. Okay, this year's question. Mindless addiction to form, ignoring the substance of the matter, results in the rendering of injustice. And a perceptive civil servant is one who ignores such literalness, the literal meaning of something, and carries out the true intent. So examine the above statement with suitable illustration. So of course the major part of the answer will be that how fixation on form can actually leading to the injustice. So that you are not talking about the substantive aspect, you are not talking about the spirit aspect, you are fixating on the literal sense of the law. Understood? ये तो समझ में आ गया होगा ना भाई. You have discussed this so many times. But important part is the second part also. That okay, let's talk about this part. So I mean, this we have discussed. The delayed decision making will be there, red tapeism will be there, misplaced priority will be there, because you will be doing inspection for publicity. I mean, rule bound that one day you have to go there, rather than talking about systemic reforms and everything, because you are not talking about the substantive aspect. You are looking at the formalistic aspect. The DM Saab came here for inspection, but he suspended one principal and one teacher and simply went home. But DM Saab did not solve the systematic problem that was there. So that is the mindless addiction to form, that there is some routine investigation that we have to do rather than actually fixing the core problem that is there. That ability to see the things holistically, because we are simply managing the reaction. If people want justice, instant justice, so then we are not solving the criminal justice problem, that people should believe in the justice system, rather than we are managing the reaction by indulging in bulldozer justice and fake and counter justice. In flood management also, every year there is a flood, we are managing flood only rather than taking proactive action. So we are mindlessly addicting to form in terms of management rather than taking systematic reforms. Understood? That is what it is saying. Then what we are doing is easy versus stuff. We have implemented the law, the bare minimum law as per law, the dowry act and everything, but we are not taking action as per the spirit of that act, basically changing the attitude. And we are perhaps satisfying ourselves by output only and not going towards outcome. That is what it is saying. The difference between output and outcome is a difference between letter and spirit. Yes? Yes, it is that only, that we have constructed 100 toilets, but we are not talking about the usage of those toilets. So there is a difference that is there between form and substance. The substance is the uses of toilets. Substance is the learning value in school, and the form is building of school, how many teachers are there and everything. So that is what that we have to talk about, and ultimately, because it may lead to the poor utilization of resources, because we are talking about. So this part is actually the injustice that is there, the negative impact on the morale of the people, the bureaucrat who truly wants to carry out the intent, but he will be subjugated by the work culture that is more focused on the form aspect, the formalistic aspect, So that is what actually the injustice that is there, that we are creating, because we are mindlessly following the formal aspect. Understood? On the other hand, just give the contrast that if we are able to solve things systematically, if we are looking at the substantive aspect, then we can actually carry out the justice. You can give the example of cyclones that we are managing in Odisha, that because of the proactive measures, you can simply talk about the difference between flood management and cyclone management. In cyclone management, we are able to save so many lives, but in flood management, you are usually managing the flood only. We are not taking proactive action to reduce the loss of life, liberty, life and property. Then following due process of law, constitutional morality, that is what you need to write. Sabarimala, for example, and everything. DVT, auctioning of mind. So these are the aspects that you can write, that how we can arrive at the justice if we are following the substantive aspect of the law. Menka Gandhi case also you can quote due process of law. Understood? By following principle of national justice. Understood or not? Actually, a tough question, but since you have discussed it so many times, then I'm hopeful that you have written.
In doing the right thing, there is nothing wrong.
And
In doing the right thing, there is nothing wrong.
ऐसा तो मत बोल दो कि right thing, nothing wrong.
As in when you're doing the right thing, तो rules को
हाँ, तो rule का importance आएगा ना. And then the important part of this question is that why there is challenge in terms of prioritization of the substance. You know, if we always prioritize substance over form, then what are the challenges that may come with it? That is the analytical aspect that is there. Because if we are not, let's say, going by the letter of the law and only spirit only, then don't you think we are creating more subjectivity, more scope for arbitrariness, because we are not following the law in literal sense in that case. So that is a challenge that is there, that that it may lead to the subjectivity and accountability concerns, because we are creating a slippery slope by going towards the substantive aspect only and not taking care of the form. And that is the challenge that is there, and that is why form should not be ignored altogether. We should take care of the form also. And how you can balance that can be part of your conclusion, by using technology, by having guided discretion, basically guidelines for the discretion. That is how, by reforming the rules, so that rules do not become constructing from the purpose of carrying out the intent of the act, but at the same time they should hold the official accountable, and capacity building with respect to the officers, sensitivity training and everything, so that he can apply everything. This part should be part of your conclusion. I mean, I've included it separately first to make you understand that you need to draw a balance here, you need to draw a balance here. The question is very negatively worded. I mean, it is saying mindless addiction to form. So that itself is bad. So that is why this part will not take a lot of space, because question is not following form, ignoring the substance lead to injustice. Because if it is that, then it is very mildly worded statement, following form. Following form is not itself a bad idea. A bad idea is mindless addiction to form. So this is bad in itself. And that is why this dimension will not be that great. But suppose question is, following form, ignoring the substance of the matter results into the rendering of injustice. Then yes, we do talk about the previous part, that how following form mindlessly can create injustice. But at the same time, following form, is also important to ensure accountability, reduce arbitrariness and everything. And then this part will be a bit longer. इस बात समझ में आ रही है कि नहीं आ रही है? When I am changing the question, how my proportions are changing. How many of you are able to understand this part? कितने लोगों को समझ में नहीं आया? समझ में आ रहा है ना आपको? Thank God. So this is there, and then ultimately how you will be balancing both, form and substance. So that you can give as part of conclusion, or 1 or 2 line leadership and reforming rules, capacity building, everything. Understood? समझ में आ गया? कितने लोगों ने मोटा मोटा ये लिखा है? Because we have discussed that so many times. Nice. For 50% कितने लोगों ने लिखा है मोटा मोटा? Anyone who has addressed this part, that form should not, at least written this line, that form should not be ignored altogether, to ensure. Oh, very proud of you. Very nice. Because it requires a lot of critical thinking to write that line. At least 1 or 2 lines you should write. This will take only 1 paragraph or 3 or 4 lines only. Not more than that, because the question is mindless addiction. That itself is wrong. Mindless addiction. Okay, but still you can write about that to some extent. Understood? अरे ऐसा look क्यों दे रहे हो? बताओ. Please note it. How many of you go home and read the answers again? These answers. कितने लोग नहीं पढ़ते? ईमानदारी साथ खड़ा हो. कितने लोग नहीं पढ़ते? क्यों? PDF आया नहीं था. इनके पास भी नहीं आया. मैं शेयर नहीं करता. फोटो भी नहीं खींचे. मोबाइल नहीं आपके पास? अरे भाई कोई प्रिंट आउट लेके दे देना किसी के पास हो तो इनको. मोबाइल झूठ बोल रहे हैं क्या? मोबाइल नहीं इनके पास वास्तव में हैं? छोटे वाला. ठीक है. अरे बस भाई बस यार. इनका भी इंटरव्यू हो गया ना यूपीएससी में. मुझे लग रहा है यूपीएससी में वो बाहर छोड़ने आएंगे कि सर आप चले जाओगे ना. मैकबुक है आपके पास, उसको ले आया करो, उसमें कैमरा भी होता है, यूज करके खींच लिया करो यहाँ फोटो। आपका नाम भूल गया मैं, क्या है? मोहसिन खान, यस। डन। How many of you are dissatisfied with this answer? Dissatisfied. Why? ये रह गया, ठीक है, ठीक है। I mean, ठीक है, this is all right because it is mindless addiction that is written there. ठीक है, that is all right. If you have not written that, then that is also more or less it is all right. Okay, understood? बाकी लोग satisfied हैं, केवल 3 लोग dissatisfied हैं। एक कोटेशन और है जो मैंने समझाया आपको, अनएग्जामिन्ड लाइफ इज नॉट वर्थ लिविंग। ओके, सो वो भूल जाते हो आप, तो एग्जाम ही नहीं करना है तो सब बढ़िया ही चल रहा है, अच्छा ही लिख रहे होंगे सर। ओके, तो दैट इज वी आर सेटिस्फाइड, यू नो, दिल को क्या नाम है, यस, गालिब ख्याल अच्छा है, वही वाली बात है। someone is examining, that is why he is dissatisfied, and some people are living in, yes, ignorance. Totally dissatisfied with one answer. That is good. That is another extreme. Yes, ji, things will be all right. Okay, done. This part is done. This is fairly easy question. Okay, so I have not written the answer to this question. Okay, I believed in you and your capacity to write answer to this question. Okay, ये तो लिख ही लिया होगा. I think, should I discuss that? I think you can do that. Okay. First part is definition. How emotional intelligence can overcome the bureaucracy. You can create a table also here. You know, you create a table. In that table on the left side, you write the weakness of Bavarian bureaucracy and how EI is helping you improve. So, understood? Hierarchical method against team workship, and then how EI help you in having team. Giving the example also. समझ गए सर? नहीं, मजा नहीं आया, लिखा नहीं आपने? हाँ, कोई भी क्वेश्चन आंसर तो लिख दिया ना आपने। चलो ठीक है, आई थिंक दैट इज डन। चलो, नाउ वी विल मूव टू द पेपर 2। यस, यहां तक हो गया था ना, डिफरेंट एटीट्यूड तक हो गया था मेरे ख्याल से। यस, वी आर डिस्कस टिल हियर एटीट्यूड, वी हैव डिस्कस टिल हियर। यस, ऐसे लंबी लंबी सांसें मत लो भाई। ओके, आई बी वरीड, व्हाट शुड आई डू? मोए मोए, व्हाट शुड आई डू? दैट्स हाउ आई रिमेंबर यू। ओके, लेट अस मूव टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। सो एम्पैथी इज नॉट ए वीकनेस, दैट इज फॉर मी, आई थिंक। यस, it actually happened, you know, when and I'm feeling the same thing. The message is coming perhaps tonight, you know. When I go to bed, I reflect on how the day was, and then I recall your poor faces, and I feel like that, you know, I feel bad actually. So empathy is not a weakness. I just hope one day it will all pay off, and you will be proud of me one day, one fine day. So empathy is not a weakness, but a strength in public service. Critically examine this statement in the context of civil services aptitude. How can empathy be balanced with objectivity and impartiality? Okay, so empathy is not a weakness but a strength. So first part we need to address that why we are calling the debate is that only. Debate is that only. So whenever such debate is there, you know, you must address the first part of the debate. That is that why we are calling empathy as a weakness. So empathy is weakness. We have discussed that because it can make it difficult for you to take certain decision like lathi charge and everything. Because if you are too emotional, then it will be very difficult for you. I mean, lack of emotional intelligence will be there. Yes. Yes, you will be moved by emotions too much, just like at times I am. Okay, so it may be weakness. So that is what you need to write. You know, empathy might cloud your judgment. It may lead to favoritism. It may lead to, you know, lack of objectivity at times. So that is the problem. And then how empathy can be strength. This will be an introduction only. Okay, not more than, because the question already has 2 parts. Okay, so this will not go beyond this. And then you talk about how empathy has a strength, and here you're talking about emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is about using your emotions, for the, so you talk about interorganizational, or everything that we have discussed, everything will come here, how empathy will help you in terms of better leadership, better communication skill, conflict management, conflict mechanism, solving the problem holistically, seeing things thoroughly, like all JFM, every example that you have given, having community participation, good governance, all those, whatever we have discussed will come here. Understood? And how you can balance empathy with objectivity and impartiality, because that is against the lead favoritism and everything. That is basically, empathy will go against that only. Empathy will go against objectivity only. Yes? So yes, emotional intelligence, of course. So whatever we have discussed, how to inculcate emotional intelligence, you can talk about that. 1 or 2, 3 lines you can talk about. The measures for transformation accountability, because empathy should not lead to the favoritism, and for that you should have transparency and accountability mechanism. You should have clear code of conduct and code of ethics, so that your decision making can be guided, so that you are not misled by the empathy only all the time. Sensitivity training, how many of you wrote that? Sensitivity training, it is very important. You include that every time. Whenever talking about measures, you include that. Training, capacity building, you include that. And consultation and collaboration is very, very important, because empathy, you may invoke that. You will be invoking that because you will be having discretion. Then only empathy will come into the picture. Discretion only you will be applying that law. Understood? So one of the way to minimize abuse of discretion is that you reduce the people who are, you increase the number of people who are taking the decision. And one of the second suggestion is that you have committee-based decision making. So if you are someone who is very much emotional, then you make a committee and then take decision, and so that your decision can be qualified or rationalized by other people. They can also give their input, and then you will know whether you are taking a prudent decision or not, and everything. Understood? And also you can make people participate in the decision making, wider stakeholder consultation, not just your person, to whom you are feeling empathetic, wider stakeholder consultation. That will make you aware about the diverse perspective, and then you will be more aware, and then you will take the right decision. Okay, so how to reduce the abuse of discretion? Okay, committee-based decision making is something that you should write in your way forward, and other question also wherever you want to use. Understood? समझ में आ रहा है? And that is why the UPSC interview, they have many members who are continuous decision making, so that they want to reduce the arbitrariness that is there. Because with discretion may come arbitrariness. Understood? And with discretion may also come how empathy can lead to the bad decisions. Understood? And that is what we are writing by having collaboration, and this point you should always remember when to minimize the abuse of discretion. Understood? Understood or not? Sir, this question was not there in my test. It was there in yesterday's test, and we were not able to discuss that. Okay, because Megha came. Okay, because of that. So in yesterday's test, it is there. Collaboration and consultation. Okay, so this is the great suggestion. I'm emphasizing it again and again, because in case study also you may be required to bound the discretion, because more discretion that is there, more are the chances of corruption. And the probity mechanism required to create checks and balances. It requires that you reduce the scope for discretion to minimize chances of corruption. And that is why risk management practice will require that you minimize discretion by having clear guidelines in terms of use of discretion, by having committee-based decision making. I'm telling you answer to some other question that I will be giving you. And then I will expect you to write these lines. And that is why I'm repeating it again and again. पता नहीं आप सुन भी रहे हैं कि नहीं सुन रहे हैं, Understood or not? So there you should use all these things. Committee-based decision making, clear guidelines with respect to user decision, minimizing discretion through legal reform and everything. Understood? Understood? So that is what you need to write in this answer. Any doubt? You can note it if you want. Oh, starting में आएगा ना, against आएगा. How empathy can cloud your judgment. How it can make you emotional, and that is why you will not be able to take rational decision. Strength, weakness, और जब compliment में आप basically strength की बात कर रहे हो, you are repeating strength. This is strength only. So whenever the questions are in dual form, and that is why you should not start with the strength, because you will be repeating the strength again. And that is a general template that you can follow other GS answer also, because otherwise you will be repeating the same line again. And understood? ये जनरल ज्ञान था, आई होप आपको समझ में आ गया हो. स्ट्रेंथ, चैलेंज और फिर स्ट्रेंथ लिखोगे क्या? तो यही तो स्ट्रेंथ ही तो है.
पहले स्ट्रेंथ ही लिखी, फिर चैलेंज, फिर ये वाला जो
कौन सा? नहीं, वो नहीं आएगा. वीकनेस लिखिए, क्योंकि बाद में आपको पॉजिटिव लिखना है. ठीक है, तो वीकनेस से आप स्टार्ट करिए. और मोस्टली क्वेश्चन इज अबाउट स्ट्रेंथ, तो स्ट्रेंथ को फोकस भी अच्छे से करना है. तो मे बी इंट्रोडक्शन में ही वो सफाइस हो जाएगा वीकनेस वाला पार्ट. स्ट्रेंथ इज अ मेजर डिमांड, ये समझ में आ रहा होगा ना, स्ट्रेंथ मेजर डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन है. और वीकनेस को हमको एड्रेस भी करना है. वी नीड टू एड्रेस वीकनेस ऑल्सो. Can we start with objectivity and impartiality? See, I cannot tell you just by looking at these keywords, objectivity and impartiality. Until and unless the line of misuse of empathy is there, I mean, the introduction is not good. Because that is what it is telling you. Empathy is not a weakness. So that is what you need to write. Empathy may cloud your judgment, and that goes against objectivity and impartiality. Then it is a good statement. You need to invoke as many words as you can from the question itself, so that examiner think that you are answering the question only. How to arrive at multiple points rapidly takes time to think and link point. It will come with practice of this. There is no, I'm taking one class in the step up mentorship, essay classes, and one student asked in the chat, sir, is there any hack to think? Jugad, is there any jugad to think? So that is what it is. Okay. Understood? Noted also? Noted, especially the discussion wala part. Register that to your memory. Okay. Can I change that? Again, I hope that you were able to answer this question. It is fairly easy question. I just want to know the three values. Did you include non-partisanship or not? Because bureaucracy always have political context. Did you include objectivity or not? Because that is a foundational step of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy based on objectivity only. Uske baad dedication to public service and whatever you want. That is the broadest value that is there. So you must include that and every other thing. Understood? Understood or not? And justification also you relevance everything you wrote. Yes? Online walo, Changasi, everything Changasi in this question? And इसमें तो confidence आ गया होगा. Mohsin? Okay. Done? Okay, let us move to the next question. Nothing to note. So, integrity is a value that empowers the human being. Again, very easy question. Consequence of ethics for individuals. Now, individuals' roles can be different. A human being is not in individualistic sense only. From different perspective. From personal perspective, personal empowerment, private relationship empowerment, from the professional life environment, public service. If you are a public servant, then how does it empower you? How it acts as a social force in terms of social capital and everything. That is how you can divide your answer. Okay, that is how you can just include various dimensions, and that is how it is empowering you. So you must use diverse example, from politics, from business, from sports, from history, from civil servant, so that you can diversify your point, not just writing from the perspective of bureaucrat. How many of you just wrote from the perspective of bureaucrats in this question? Somebody diversify kiya? Are you? Why? Why this Kolaberi? Why? Is a human being only, not civil servant. It is a sin. Understand? It is a sin. Because these are the questions for which you must get 60% of the marks. If you are not getting 60% of the marks in these questions, then you tell me how will you get the marks in the questions that you are finding difficult to comprehend in the first place. Okay, and I am telling you, out of 13 questions, at least 9 to 10 questions will be like that only in the actual examination hall. Okay, understood? So, that is how you can diversify this individual human being. You can diversify personal life, professional life, Understood? I mean, that is fairly easy. In conclusion, you can talk about the difficulty of maintaining integrity with respect to lot of courage of conviction that is required and everything. Understood? So that can be part of your conclusion. Yes? So this is again a very fairly simple question. We have discussed that again and again, that how it empowers human being. Okay, credibility, social capital, leadership, all that thing will come here. Social capital will come here. Understood or not? And an example of each season also you could have given that various contractors work without payment for a month. How many of you give this example? Nice. चलो ठीक, इतने बुरे भी नहीं हैं सर. गाना है ना, इतना बुरा भी नहीं हूँ मैं माँ. ऐसा ही है ना कुछ वो? है? वो कौन सी मूवी है? तारे जमीन पर, इतना बुरा भी नहीं हूँ मैं माँ. It is like that. Okay. So I think it is done. Now let me allow you to complete. Okay, this question. क्या नेगेटिव लिखना है इसमें? इंटीग्रिटी एम्पावर नहीं करती, कैसे लिखोगे? ना जरूरत नहीं है, डिमांड ही नहीं है क्वेश्चन का, और जबरदस्ती आप उसमें डायमेंशन. आप चैलेंजेस लिख सकते हैं, चैलेंजेस ऑफ मेंटेनिंग इंटीग्रिटी, दैट कम्स विद दिस फ्लो. ओके. नहीं भाई, उसमें लिखते रेलेवेंस लिखो, कुछ लिखो, बोलते हैं जो क्वेश्चन पूछेगा वो लिखना सीख रहेगा. क्वेश्चन में लिखेगा वो, जैसे यहाँ पे जस्टिफिकेशन लिखेगा तो why it is included, that is what you need to write. The non-partisan included because bureaucrats are permanent executive and politicians are temporary executive. So all those and the three axes that I talked about, that's what you will write. Integrity question pick. हाँ वो भी कर सकते हैं. हाँ कर सकते हैं. You see, not a hard and fast rule that you divide like that only. I'm just telling you that is another way of dividing things. You can write whatever. I mean, just dimensions are important. Just don't write only bureaucratic example. Don't write only political example. Just diversify your point from organizational perspective, from professional perspective. That is what is important. That is how your answer will be different than other aspirants. And give example. Understood? So now let us just complete this particular topic that we had left. That is quality of service delivery. Okay. So what is quality of service delivery? When we say that something is qualitative, we say that it is either meeting or exceeding our standard that we had expected of that service. Yes, then only we will say that that service is qualitative. Yes or no? Yes. So quality of service delivery is nothing but conformance to the standards that meet or exceed customer expectations. So basically it is about the standards, that what are those standards on which we will be judging whether a particular service delivery is qualitative or not. That is what it is all about. Okay, and that is why, if you look at One Nation, One Ration card, so it made the PDS ration available because see, even though you are entitled as per National Food Security Act, still, many migrants were not getting. अब बंद कर दीजिए, इसको कर दीजिए, इसी को, ठीक है. Many migrants, कल से पहन के आओ सब, ठीक है, because मुझे पसीना आता है बोलने में, ठीक है, मेरे पे नहीं आता है, मैं क्या करूं? तो आप वो पहन के आओ ऊपर से जैकेट, देखो ये पहन के आए भैया. Okay, so. The various migrants people were not able to avail the ration card because they were in different state, and that is why from their perspective the service delivery was not qualitative. Understood or not? And that is why One Nation, One Ration card helps you in that, in making ration available at your place where you are working, and that is what it is making that service qualitative. The availability is perhaps one of the criteria. Then accessibility. When you are building an infrastructure, you need to see whether it is accessible to the people with disability, for example, or weaker section. So accessibility is another criteria that we should look at. Understanding? समझ में आ रहा है आपको? Yes. So accessibility is another criteria. So that is why Election Commission of India, when it conducts election, it actually provides wheelchair, and at times, this time, a lot of flexibility was provided. People were able to cast vote from their homes also, I think, elderly and everyone. So that's how it provides flexibility, accessibility to certain category of population. So that is about increasing quality of your service delivery. Then responsiveness basically, is very important. See, whatever service you are providing, if the organization is not responding to your grievances, then the service, we cannot call it qualitative. Understood? And that is why when we are using Twitter for raising of grievances and ministry is solving that, then it becomes part of qualitative service delivery, because we are getting the response from the government or the organization for the issues in our service delivery. Understood? So responsiveness is another criteria perhaps on which we will evaluate our service delivery. Then reliability. The service should be reliable. It should not be the case that suppose you are getting water from a municipality, one day water is coming, another day water is not coming. Then it does not make the service reliable, and you cannot perhaps call it that the service is qualitative. Understood? Similarly, reliability. Tatkal service is there. The people who are from Bihar, they will find it very difficult to book their tickets and so they will not even trust the Tatkal service, because it does not help them in terms of getting the tickets, confirmed tickets. So Tatkal for them is perhaps not that reliable. So reliability is another very important issue. Municipal services, I also talked about reliability. So basically, overall qualitative services also we can talk about. Is a government school from Bihar. Government school what place we call it? Yes. And this is a school that is there from Delhi, So there is a lot of qualitative difference that is there in terms of quality of service, the actual quality of service that is being provided here. So that is what about quality of service delivery. You talk about Domino, we have discussed that already, that how they are very prompt in terms of grievance redressal mechanism. So that is another great example of quality of service delivery, that, how you are rating and valuing customer satisfaction. That is another great parameter on which you will evaluate quality of service delivery. So basically quality of service delivery is about, adhering to various parameters like availability, accessibility, reliability, responsive. CPgram is basically the central portal to register your grievances. It is there. You can give this example. Online portal is there, CPgrams. You can complain about UPSC also. They will respond. So responsiveness, it is there. Then flexibility. Earlier, organized, UPSC, it used to ask that you need to send your DEF. Those who are writing means that you need to send your DEF separately through post also. But now it has included that you can file it online only. Now OTR is there, one-time registration, so that it is far more flexible. So flexibility is there. So that UPSC is enhancing the quality of its service delivery, that you need not register again and again. You need not provide the same details again and again if you are applying for the multiple examination with the commission. So flexibility, sustainability, of course, whatever service you are getting should be sustainable. It should not be the case that you are getting it, but your next generation is not getting it. So sustainability is another important parameter that is there. Then, of course, efficiency, economy, and effectiveness, because the service delivery should meet the outcome. It is no point having the toilet constructed but people are not using it, or the water is not coming, it is not usable. So it will not serve our purpose, So effectiveness should be there. It should not be economic in a way that we should not have wasteful expenditure, because then it will not be sustainable. So service delivery should be efficient, economic, and effective. These are another parameter to evaluate service delivery. Then quality. You talk about PDS ration. At times what happens is PDS ration dealers, what they will do, they will sell the good quality grain in the open market and they will give inferior quality grain to the people, the beneficiary. So the quality of the service per se, it should be good. The government hospital and schools you talk about, you don't feel like going there at times because the quality per se is not good. So the quality per se, the convenience, how convenient it is to avail the government services. You talk about doorstep delivery initiative that was there. So it was about making it more convenient for you to avail that service. So that will only enhance the quality of service delivery. And then timelines also. It should not be the case that the timeliness should be there in terms of service delivery. You want to get a birth certificate for some reason and you are not getting it. Various OBC certificates are there. Whatever the caste certificate is there for the examination, you must get it in due time so that you can use it. What is the point of getting the certificate after the time has elapsed? Understood? So timeliness is also very important factor in terms of quality of service delivery. Understood? So basically quality of service delivery is nothing but various parameters on which we will be judging whether a particular service is exceeding or conforming to our standards, and these are the standards that we have just discussed. But we say that government service delivery is not that qualitative. So what are the reasons? The reasons are the infrastructure. The infrastructure is inadequate. You talk about railways, how many trains that are there. You talk about people also. How many policemen are there per population? How much money, resource constraints are also there, how much money we are spending as part of GDP, in terms of healthcare and education. So because of those constraints also, we are not able to provide qualitative services. Overabundant systems are there. You talk about metro, in Mumbai local you talk about, how overabundant those systems are, because there is a lot of population pressure that is there. The carrying capacity of those areas have been exceeded like anything, and that is why the service delivery is not qualitative. You can give the example of ORN also. Okay, the service quality is not that qualitative because the carrying capacity has been exceeded like anything. So overabundant system, lack of skilled workforce. The people who are providing services, they should be skilled in the first place. So various government teachers, they are not actually trained to teach. They do not know actually how to teach. The pedagogy is not there, the skill is not there. Then how they will ensure that what they are teaching is actually quality? How they will ensure the quality aspect of their teaching. So it is also the case that the skilled workforce is not there, especially with respect to the Digital India initiative. You must have employees who are very much familiar with the technology, but if you are not having those employees, then your initiative will suffer, the quality of service delivery will suffer only. And then resource constraint, corruption and bribery, of course, it is the case. Because of that, all the bridges that are collapsing, it is poor service delivery only. Yes, the roof that was collapsing, that airport, during rain. So again, digital divide. The government is providing so many digital services, but people are not able to access because of digital divide. So that is another problem that is there. Cultural and social factors that are there. Now, government is providing, let's say, education, but because of various cultural reasons, patriarchy reasons, the people are not sending their daughters to school. Then what can government go and do? So there are various factors. Because of that, people are not able to avail the government services. So cultural and social factors are also there. And also, people themselves, the cultural is not that they do not have civic sense also. You talk about traffic light, you talk about air pollution, you talk about cleanliness, environmental cleanliness, the civic sense is not there. So that is another reason why we are not having qualitative service delivery. And then political interference. We have discussed that again and again, that various politicians, they will interfere in quality of service delivery, that you should do that. If you are building a road, then make it pass through my constituency, even though you already have too many roads, in your neighborhood. So because of political interference also, things suffer. You talk about the grants that center gives to the states. You often see that it will be giving those grants to the states, with whom it is having political alignment. So that is how the quality of service delivery in other states will suffer. Understood? So basically, can you see when I'm writing the regions, how I'm talking about the dimensions again? I'm not just talking about infrastructure, economic aspect, human resource aspect I'm including, corruption, ethical aspect I'm including, then a digital aspect I'm including, financial aspect I'm including, and I'm social cultural aspect I'm including, and political aspect I'm including. So that is what you should also focus upon when you are writing your answer. Your answer has to be multidimensional. I don't know how I can emphasize this point enough, that when you are writing the answer, please try to include this dimension. Are you able to understand that how we have to write cultural aspect also, political interference also? Understood? So these are the reasons because of which we are not. You can add more also, and argument we have already given you. So this is how you need to attempt. If a question comes that quality of service delivery is poor in the government, what could be the reason? Of course, you can add administrative factors and then talk about hierarchy, red tapeism. Because of that, the service delivery is delayed, timelines are not there. You can add more points, of course. Broadly, I have discussed. Understood? So I think that is all about quality of service delivery, and other points from work culture aspect, other aspect you can also include. So now you can note it. This topic is over. I told you it is of 10 minutes only. Yes, misutilization of fund is also there. Yes, it is there. About? It is there in your notes, way forward. About various aspects. So you talk about reforming bureaucracy, reforming citizen engagement, citizen charter. Citizen charter is a great way of enhancing service delivery, because you are making people aware about the quality and quantity of services and the government mechanisms that they can employ to ensure that they are getting qualitative services and to hold the officials accountable. So all these things you need to write. Misutilization of fund is another example. That is bribery and corruption only. Done? cultural and societal aspect is, you see, you go to train, okay, and if you go to washroom, you will find that the mug is chained. Why it is chained? Why it is chained? The government is doing its best. Government is providing what do we call the bio toilets. You know, at times you won't find that that is working. Why? Because the culture, civic sense is not there. People will throw something in those toilets and then it will make them dysfunctional. So service delivery is affected because of the culture, not exactly because of the government. Done? Patriarchy, another example that people are not sending their children, girl child to the school. Then how will the government provide all these things? सर ये मेरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, सीतामढ़ी से हो क्या आप? Now I think two topics are remaining. One is corruption, another was just war theory and doctrine double effect. That I will discuss in the case study in orientation session. हो गया भाई, वो स्टोरी, अरे वो मैंने डिस्कस कर दिया वैसे कुछ पार्ट आज. चलो RTI, yes, RTI is part of case study. I will discuss that. RTI. Three topics are remaining: RTI, corruption, and doctrine double effect. Done? So I think you must be tired now. Yes, 3 hours already. क्यों मोहसिन जी 3 hours हो गए? Very bad. Okay. हैं? मेरी ये दूसरी क्लास थी, अब मेरा हो गया. ठीक है. It is mine 5 hours now in terms of speaking. Okay then, anything else online वालों? Please have faith and yes, you can talk about that, Khushi. Continue to work hard, do introspection, read the answers again, and think how you can think in the examination hall like that, and you will slowly get better, and write the mistakes that you are committing. Okay? Okay, bye bye, good night.